Please, help.
This is Captain Saren of the Valari. My child is dying.
Authorization confirmed.
In the quiet little town of Fairbanks, where snow fell like a silver blanket, David Cross was getting ready for his daughter Lila's 7th birthday. He was just a single dad, a former engineer for a long-gone defense corps. That was all a lifetime ago, before the wars, before Earth became just another forgotten name in the vast silence of space. A chocolate cake with 7 candles sat on the table. David smiled, placing a tiny paper crown on his daughter's chair. "Lila's going to love this," he whispered. The clock ticked. 6:59 p.m. One more minute. It was supposed to be a peaceful night. But peace is a fragile thing. Suddenly, the house AI, an old drone named Nora, beeped. "David," it said, its voice a soft metallic hum. "There is an incoming signal. Source unknown." David frowned. "Just interference, ignore it." But Nora floated closer, its light glowing red. "Signal repeating. Emergency code structure detected. It's not human." Those words sent a chill down his spine. Not human. He rushed to the console. Alien symbols shifted on the screen, slowly forming a rough English translation. "Help. Please. This is Captain Saren of the Valari Transport Elara. My child is dying. Anyone, please respond." David stared, thinking it had to be a prank. Aliens hadn't bothered with Earth in over 100 years. But the voice, it was trembling, desperate. It felt real. He ran a quick trace. The coordinates flashed on screen and his breath caught in his throat. Antarctica. "No way," he whispered. "That's restricted territory." The signal came again, weaker this time. "Please, my ship is falling apart. My child." The rest was lost to static. David looked at the birthday cake, the candles waiting to be lit. He pictured Lila's excited smile. Then he looked back at the console. "Help me." He let out a long sigh. "Nora, send a message to Lila's guardian. Tell her I'll be late." "David, this could be dangerous," the drone warned. He nodded. "I know, but someone needs help." Minutes later, his old truck was battling through the blizzard. Nora hovered beside him. "Do you think it's real?" she asked. David just kept his eyes on the road. "We'll find out soon enough." Hours passed. The cold deepened. As he reached the desolate ice plains of Antarctica, his scanner started screaming. The signal was getting stronger. And then, the ground trembled. A massive crack split the ice right in front of him, and a colossal shadow began to rise from beneath. A deep, ancient voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. "Authorization request. Identify user." David froze. Lights flickered under the ice, revealing a smooth, black, metallic shape. He hesitantly placed his hand on the frozen surface. "DNA match confirmed. Commander David Cross. Authorization granted." The ground erupted. Ice and snow exploded outwards as something impossibly huge rose from the abyss. A ship larger than any city he'd ever seen, its hull scarred from ancient battles, glowing with faint blue energy. The voice spoke again. "Supercarrier Vanguard. Awakening sequence initiated." David stumbled back. "Nora, what is this?" The drone buzzed frantically. "It's impossible. That's the Vanguard. From the old Terran fleet, it was reported lost 300 years ago. The legends were true. Earth's last supercarrier, humanity's final hope, buried and forgotten. And now, it was awake. Just then, a small silver ship, smoking and damaged, fell from the sky, crashing nearby. David sprinted towards it. It was alien, sleek, marked with Valari symbols. Inside, a woman with pale silver skin and glowing blue eyes clutched a small child. He smashed the hatch open and pulled them out. "Please, help him," she gasped, her voice trembling. The boy was barely breathing. David looked back at the immense supercarrier rising behind them, its engines humming like thunder. "Commander Cross," the ship's voice boomed. "Orders?" David looked at the alien mother, at her dying child. He didn't understand any of this, but his instincts were screaming. "Open the hangar," he commanded. We're bringing them aboard. As he carried the child into a glowing corridor of ancient technology, the mother whispered, "They'll come for us. For the boy." David frowned. "Who?" Her eyes filled with terror. "The Coalition. They can't know humans still exist." Before he could ask more, Nora's alarm blared. "Multiple ships entering orbit. Unknown signatures. They've found us." Flashes of blue light lit up the stormy sky. He clenched his fists, the soldier in him reawakening. "Looks like the universe didn't forget us after all," he muttered, and for the first time in 3 centuries, the Vanguard's engines roared to life. Humanity was awake again. The storm howled as the ancient Terran supercarrier Vanguard broke free from its icy tomb. Its black metal hull, dormant for centuries, now hummed with a forgotten power. Lightning tore across the sky, illuminating the colossal ship as it rose, shaking the very air. Inside the vast hangar bay, my breath plumed in the frigid air. On a medical bed lay an alien mother and her child, their lives hanging by a thread. A blue, faceless hologram materialized beside me. "Commander Cross," its calm voice echoed. "Systems are functional. Reactors online at 40%. Hull integrity, 71%. I nodded, a grim smile touching my lips. "Not bad for a 300-year-old ghost." The AI Erebus tilted its head. "You are out of uniform, Commander." I smirked. "Yeah, well, I wasn't exactly planning on starting a war tonight." The alien woman stirred, her silver eyes fluttering open. Fear laced her soft voice. "Where am I?" I knelt beside her. "You're safe. For now." I gestured to the child. "Your boy is stable. My ship's medical systems are taking care of him." Relief flickered in her eyes, but confusion quickly replaced it. "This is a Terran vessel," she whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. "They said all Terran ships were destroyed." I looked away. That's what they wanted everyone to believe. Suddenly, a small drone, Nora, zipped closer. "Commander, enemy ships are in low orbit. They're scanning the surface." The woman's eyes widened in terror. "The Coalition, they followed me." I frowned. "Who are they?" "The Galactic Coalition," she said, her words tumbling out. "They control most of the galaxy. They fear anything human. If they find out you're alive..." I finished her sentence grimly. "They'll come for us." Erebus turned its glowing head. "Commander, our stealth systems are outdated. Detection is inevitable. I recommend we move. Now." My mind raced. It had been 20 years since I last commanded a ship. I wasn't a soldier anymore, just a father who'd missed his daughter's birthday. But this was bigger. "Erebus," I asked, my voice firm, "can we fly?" "Engines are online, Commander. Atmospheric thrusters ready." "Then get us out of this ice." Outside, massive engines roared to life, melting glaciers as the Vanguard clawed its way into the stormy sky. Ice fell away, revealing the ship's true, terrifying scale, kilometers long, a floating fortress city. As we ascended, the clouds parted, and for the first time in 300 years, a human warship breached Earth's sky. On the bridge, I settled into the captain's chair. Consoles blinked to life around me, a familiar, chilling symphony of light and sound. It felt like shaking hands with a ghost. "Report," I ordered. Erebus responded instantly. "2 Coalition frigates in orbit. They've locked onto our position." The alien woman looked up, her voice weak. "Please, they only want my son. If you give them the child, they'll leave you alone." I turned on her, my voice sharp. "You really think I'd hand over a child?" Her voice trembled. "You don't understand. He's different. His blood. It can activate old Terran systems." My brow furrowed. "Activate Terran systems? How?" "I don't know." She shook her head. "Only that his DNA, it's part human." I froze, staring at the boy on the monitor. He was small, pale, and had a faint scar over his wrist that was unnervingly familiar. "Nora," I said, my voice barely a whisper, Run a DNA scan on the boy. The drone buzzed. Scan complete. Result: 95% match with Commander David Cross. The silence on the bridge was deafening. That's impossible. Erebus spoke softly. Data suggests the child was born from genetic material archived during your service on Mars Station 12. 20 years ago, that station was destroyed. I looked at the woman, my heart pounding. You used my DNA? Tears welled in her glowing eyes. The Coalition did. I escaped with him before they could turn him into a weapon. It hit me like a meteor. This wasn't just about saving strangers. I was saving my own son. Before I could process it, Erebus's voice cut through the shock. Commander, enemy ships are charging weapons. On the main screen, 2 bright lights descended fast. Raise shields, I roared. Shields at 60%. The first plasma bolt hit and the ship screamed under the impact. I grabbed the rail. Erebus, open comms. My voice boomed into the void. This is Commander David Cross of the Terran supercarrier Vanguard. You are trespassing in Earth's atmosphere. Stand down. A cold, synthetic voice replied, laced with arrogance. Human voice detected. Impossible. All humans are extinct. I gritted my teeth. Surprise. Plasma rained down again. Erebus. Defensive batteries. Weapons are offline, Commander. I took a deep breath, my gaze fixed on the storm, the boy who was my son, and the alien who had risked everything. Then we buy time the hard way, take us into orbit. The engines thundered. The Vanguard shot through the atmosphere, leaving our frozen cradle behind. As we broke into the void, the stars greeted us. Endless, cold, and waiting. The galaxy was about to see a Terran warship fly again. They thought humanity was a ghost story. They were about to be proven wrong. Commander? Erebus asked. What are your orders? I stared at the enemy ships, a fire igniting in my soul. Simple, I said. Let them remember why they feared us. The stars looked different tonight. They always did after a long tour away from the battlefield. From the bridge of the Vanguard, I stared into the black void, seeing nothing but the faint blue glimmers of distant worlds. It was quiet. Too quiet. Just the low hum of the ship's core, a lonely heartbeat in these metal halls. I had escaped the ice of a forgotten Earth, but the fight was far from over. Erebus, the ship's AI, shimmered into existence beside me, a tall figure of light and code. Commander. Its voice was a soft echo. The Coalition ships have fallen back, but they aren't gone. They're watching us. I nodded grimly. Let them watch. Maybe it'll jog their memory about who built the very stars they fly through. I turned and headed for the medbay. Inside, the alien mother, Captain Saren, sat beside her sleeping child. The boy's tiny chest rose and fell in shallow breaths, his skin glowing faintly in the medical light. When she saw me, her eyes, filled with fear and exhaustion, snapped up. You should have left us, she whispered, her voice cracking. Now they'll hunt you too. I crossed my arms. You said they already were. The Coalition doesn't tend to forget things that scare them. Silence. The only sound was the rhythmic beeping of the medical monitors. I studied her. She was nothing like the Valari from the old war reports, those peaceful explorers. Her eyes held the fire of a soldier and the raw pain of a mother who had lost everything. Finally, she spoke. My son's name is Kael. He's not supposed to exist. The Coalition erased every record of his birth. I frowned. Because he's part human? She nodded slowly. Yes. They were afraid of what he could become. His DNA. It can interface with old Terran machines. Things even the Coalition can't control. They call it the blood link. The blood link, the name hung in the air, my mind racing. So that's why they're chasing you. Saren's voice trembled. They want to use him to awaken the Terran relics, ships just like this one. The Coalition stole your technology, your weapons, your ideas. But they could never unlock your true power. Not without him. I looked down at the sleeping boy. My son. The DNA scan didn't lie, as much as I wanted it to. An old anger, mixed with guilt and a cold fear, stirred deep within me. I had fought for humanity, watched friends die for a galaxy that turned around and forgot us. And now, that same galaxy had stolen my blood to forge another weapon. My fists clenched. I won't let them take him again. Before Saren could reply, alarms blared through the ship. Red lights flashed and the floor trembled beneath my feet. Erebus materialized instantly. Commander, Coalition fleet approaching, 10 ships and 1 capital carrier. I sprinted to the control deck. Screens flared to life, showing hundreds of red dots swarming our position. They were waiting for us, Nora said, her small drone body hovering anxiously. My eyes hardened. No, they were testing us, and now they know we're not just ghosts. Erebus announced, "Incoming hail from the Coalition flagship." "Put it through," I ordered. The main screen flickered, revealing a tall, scaled alien. Its cold yellow eyes glared at me. "Terran vessel," it hissed. "Surrender the Valari traitor and the hybrid child. Your species is extinct. Do not provoke a second extinction." I leaned forward, my voice low but sharp. "Funny you should talk about extinction while you Cresian were staring down a human warship that has been sleeping under your nose for 300 years. The alien sneered. "We destroyed your kind for a reason." "Then you should have buried us deeper," I shot back, and the transmission cut. Silence. Then, 1,000 blue lights blinked to life across the Vanguard AS hull as the ancient ship prepared for battle. "Commander," Erebus said, "our weapons are still in partial lockdown. Reactivation requires the command gene, pure human DNA." My eyes widened. "The boy." I turned to Saren, who had followed me, holding Kael tightly. "His blood can unlock our systems?" "Affirmative," Erebus confirmed. "The blood link is real. The Coalition must never obtain it." Saren hesitated, her face pale. "If he connects with the ship, it could kill him. His body is too weak." I looked at the screen. The Coalition ships were moving into formation. We were out of time. I stepped closer to her. "We don't have a choice." She stared at me, then at her son, and finally she gave a slow, painful nod. "Then promise me," she said quietly. "If I don't make it, protect him. Don't let them turn him into a weapon." I placed a hand on her shoulder. "I swear." Erebus extended a glowing panel. A thin beam of light scanned the boy's hand. The ship roared to life. Engines hummed, the deck vibrated, and blue lightning crackled across the walls. "Bloodlink confirmed," Erebus announced. "Human command access restored." On every screen, ancient Terran symbols lit up. "We stand for Earth." The alien fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked toward us. My eyes burned with resolve. "Erebus, show them who we were." "Aye, Commander." The Vanguard's rail cannons turned, ancient but terrifying. A single shot fired, bright and blinding, slicing through the void like a divine strike. A Coalition ship exploded, breaking apart in silent, beautiful flames. I stood there, the child's faint glow reflecting in my eyes. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was for my blood, for Earth, for the memory of humanity. As the Vanguard surged into the storm, Erebus spoke softly. "Commander, the galaxy will never forget this day." A grim smile touched my lips. "Good. It's time they remembered what we are." The explosion lit up the blackness of space like a second sun. A Coalition destroyer, a titan of their fleet, drifted in silent flames, torn in half by a single shot from a Terran railgun. For the first time in 3 centuries, the galaxy witnessed the true, terrifying power of human weapons. On the bridge of the Vanguard, the shockwave subsided. David Cross stood firm, his jaw tight as he stared at the burning wreckage. Behind him, the ship's AI, Erebus, reported calmly, "1 confirmed kill. 8 hostile ships remaining. The Coalition fleet is regrouping." David didn't even blink. "Let them regroup. We're just getting started." Nearby, Saren, a Valari refugee, clutched her sleeping son, her face pale. "You don't understand." she whispered. They will call reinforcements, entire fleets if they must. David turned to her, his eyes cold steel. Then they'll learn what fear feels like. His drone companion, Nora, buzzed nervously. Commander, I must remind you, we're still damaged. The Vanguard is powerful, but she's old. Our shields won't last forever. David nodded slowly. I know, Nora. But fear works faster than weapons. And right now, they're terrified. He was right. On the Coalition flagship, panic was spreading. The alien admiral, a silver-scaled being named Vorath, gripped his chair. Impossible, he hissed. That ship should not exist. A nervous officer stammered. Admiral, it destroyed the Jurok in one strike. Its power readings, they match the ancient Terran data. Vorath slammed his clawed hand on the console. I want that ship contained, now. If humanity's war machines are waking, the entire coalition will collapse. He paused, his eyes blazing. Send word to the High Council, tell them. Humanity has returned. Back on the Vanguard, alarms blared. Incoming enemy reinforcements, Erebus announced. 2 capital ships, 4 frigates. Contact in 4 minutes. David exhaled. They're bringing the whole party. Saren stepped forward, her voice shaking. You can't fight them all. Please take my son and flee. David looked at her, seeing the fire in her eyes now mixed with fear. He shook his head. I don't run, Captain. Not anymore. He walked to the command console. The man who fixed machines and baked birthday cakes was gone, melted away in the fires of war. Erebus, he said quietly. Power status? Reactor at 65%. Weapons at full capacity, shields at 42. David smirked. That'll do. The Coalition fleet arrived, surrounding the Vanguard like wolves. A voice crackled over the comms. Terran vessel, this is Admiral Vorath. Power down your weapons or be reduced to dust. David's voice shot back, cold and steady. You can try. Vorath bared his teeth. Human arrogance, your kind should have stayed buried. David leaned into the mic. You sound scared for someone in charge. The alien's eyes flickered with rage. Fire! The void erupted. Plasma beams rained down, and the old ship groaned under the assault. Shields at 30%, Erebus called out. David gripped the railing. Return fire! All batteries! The Vanguard roared back to life. Rail cannons thundered, and streaks of light tore through the dark, vaporizing one frigate and crippling another. Each shot was pure chaos, ancient power reborn. Inside the ship, Saren's son Kael stirred, a blue light flickering across his hands. Erebus, what's happening to him? She cried. The blood link is deepening, the AI replied. His mind is syncing with the ship. His subconscious is stabilizing our power flow. David turned. He's controlling the ship? In part, Erebus confirmed. The Vanguard responds to him. He was born for this. Saren's voice cracked. He's too young. It could kill him. David clenched his fists. If he stops, we all die anyway. Another blast hit the hull. Commander, Nora trembled. They're boarding us. 2 dropships incoming. David's eyes narrowed. So they want to fight up close. He grabbed an old Terran rifle from the wall and turned to Saren. Stay with him, no matter what. She caught his arm. You can't win this alone. He looked back, his eyes full of fury and faith. I'm not alone. I've got humanity watching. The hangar doors burst open. Alien soldiers in glowing armor poured out, only to be met by a voice from the shadows. Welcome to Earth's ghost ship. David stepped forward and fired. The first alien fell. He ducked, fired again. The monsters of history were real. David fought like a storm fueled by years of rage. Above, the Vanguard's engines thundered, Kael's blue light pulsing with each heartbeat. Far away, Admiral Vorath watched his screens in horror. Pull back, he ordered softly. Pull back now. His officers stared. Admiral? Vorath's eyes darkened. We just woke the dead. Back on the Vanguard, David watched the aliens retreat. He turned to Saren. They're afraid. She nodded. Good. Maybe now they'll understand. David looked at her, then at Kael, glowing softly on the bed. No, he said. They won't understand. They'll panic. And fear always leads to war. Erebus's low tone filled the bridge. Then the galaxy's war begins again. David exhaled, watching the stars tremble. But this time, humanity's not hiding. The battlefield was quiet for a moment. Too quiet. Through the thick smoke of broken ships, the stars shimmered faintly. Metal fragments drifted past the Vanguard's hull, glowing softly as they burned away into the void. On the bridge, Commander David Cross stared at the damage reports, his knuckles white from gripping the console. Half the ship's weapons were offline. Shields were nearly gone. But they had survived. For now. Behind him, the AI Erebus materialized, its glowing blue form flickering. Commander, Coalition forces are regrouping. More ships are warping in. Our power levels are unstable. David gave a slow, deliberate nod. Then we make every shot count. Just then, Saren entered the bridge holding her son, Kael, who was wrapped in a medical blanket. The faint blue glow from his body pulsed with each tiny heartbeat. You can't keep fighting, she pleaded, her voice trembling. Your ship is breaking apart. David looked at her, his eyes weary but filled with a burning determination. I didn't come this far just to stop now, he said quietly. If they take you or the boy, they'll find Earth and they will destroy it. Saren shook her head, her fear palpable. You don't understand what you're facing. The Coalition's dreadnought is coming. It's not just a ship, David. It's a weapon built from human technology. Your technology. David froze. Say that again. She looked away, unable to meet his gaze. They built it using Terran blueprints. They call it the Harbinger. It's powered by a core they ripped from one of your lost colonies. Erebus's voice deepened with a new gravity. Commander, long-range sensors confirm. 1 Dreadnought-class vessel approaching. Size, triple that of the Vanguard. Weapons, unknown. David's heart pounded in his chest. He turned toward the stars, and there it was. A colossal black shape blotted out the distant nebulas, surrounded by an aura of crackling lightning. Its hull was a twisted fusion of alien runes and human letters, spelling out a chilling name. Project Harbinger. Even the AI went silent for a second. They used our own monsters against us, Erebus whispered. A voice, low and cruel, crackled through the comms. Terran vessel, you are outnumbered, you are outgunned, and you are out of time. David's reply was simple, cold, and unwavering. We'll see. The Harbinger opened fire. Beams of crimson light sliced across the void, slamming into the Vanguard. The ship shook violently, the shriek of tortured metal mixing with the blare of alarms. Shields at 15%, Erebus shouted. Reroute power from life support, David ordered. Commander, do it! The lights on the bridge dimmed as energy surged to the shields. Sparks flew from consoles, filling the air with smoke. Saren held Kael tightly, whispering something in her native tongue, her voice breaking with despair. Keep him safe, David yelled over the chaos. She looked up, her silver eyes filled with tears. You can't win this. David managed a faint, defiant smile. Then we make them bleed trying. The Vanguard's cannons roared to life, firing into the darkness. Rail slugs tore through enemy ships, turning them into burning wrecks. Each shot echoed like thunder, a defiant flash against the stars. The old Terran warship fought like a cornered beast, battered and scarred but refusing to fall. But the dreadnought didn't slow. Its massive cannons began to glow brighter, charging a weapon unlike anything David had ever seen. Erebus analysis. Unknown energy signature, power output catastrophic. A blinding flash erupted from the Harbinger. A single beam of pure red energy struck the Vanguard dead center. The entire ship lurched. Bulkheads split open. Consoles exploded. Saren screamed. Kael cried out, his body suddenly glowing brighter, almost burning. Erebus's voice cracked through the static. Reactor core failing, hull breach on deck 7 through 12. Thrown to the ground, David crawled back up, blood trickling down his face. Status. We can't survive another hit. Erebus reported, its voice strained. David's gaze fell on Saren, then on the glowing boy in her arms. "No," he whispered. "We're not done yet." He stumbled toward Kael. "Erebus, connect him directly to the ship's core." Saren gasped in horror. "No, it'll kill him." David's voice was steady, despite the agony of the choice. "If we don't, everyone dies." Kael opened his eyes, glowing blue, ancient and strange. His voice was soft, almost not his own. "I can hear them," he said. "The ship, the stars, they're calling." David hesitated, his heart breaking. "I know, kid. Help us one more time." The AI extended a beam of light, linking Kael's small hand to the ship's main console. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, the Vanguard roared back to life. Every system surged to full power. Engines screamed, weapons glowed, and shields flared like a miniature sun. Erebus's voice echoed across the halls, filled with awe. "Core synchronization complete. The Vanguard is at maximum power." David straightened, his face lit by the console's blue glow. "Then let's end this." He raised his hand. "Fire everything." The ship obeyed. Dozens of rail cannons, missile pods, and plasma turrets unleashed a storm of pure destruction. The Vanguard became a living star, its light cutting through the void. The first barrage hit the Harbinger dead on. Armor melted, shields shattered. Flames bloomed across its dark surface. David shouted over the roar. "Erebus, push the reactor to full output." "Commander, that will breach containment." "I said full output." The AI paused, then obeyed. Blue lightning erupted from the Vanguard's hull as it surged forward, closing the distance faster than it had in centuries. David's voice was low, filled with fury and pride. "For Earth." The Vanguard rammed straight into the Harbinger. The explosion was brighter than sunrise, a wave of light that washed over the stars. Minutes later, the flames faded. The Harbinger was gone, a broken shell drifting in the silence. The Vanguard floated nearby, its hull cracked and glowing, its engines finally failing. On the bridge, David opened his eyes. He was alive, barely. Erebus's voice was faint. "Enemy destroyed. Systems critical." He turned to Saren. She was holding Kael, who was unconscious but breathing. His glow was dim now, gentle and calm. David smiled weakly. "Told you. We'd make them bleed." Tears fell down her face. "You saved us all." The stars had fallen silent once more. Where two colossal warships had just battled, only drifting wreckage and glowing debris remained. The Vanguard, battered and broken but miraculously alive, floated in the quiet void. On the bridge, smoke hung thick in the air, smelling of burnt circuits and seared metal. Sparks rained down from the ceiling like dying fireflies. David Cross, his face streaked with blood, was slumped against the command chair, his breath coming in ragged, slow gasps. The console beside him flickered weakly. "Erebus," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Status." The ship's AI responded, its voice faint and glitching. "Core, breached, engines failing, life support, 10 minutes. David blinked, fighting to stay conscious. "Saren? Kael?" He turned his head. Saren was kneeling beside Kael, the boy lying still, wrapped in torn fabric. His signature blue glow was dim, like a fading star. "He's alive," Saren said softly, tears tracing paths down her silver cheeks. "But his energy is gone. He gave everything he had." David nodded, a lump forming in his throat. "He saved us all." Saren's eyes, a mix of gratitude and overwhelming fear, met his. "The ship won't hold much longer. We have to leave." "Escape pods. Damaged," Erebus murmured from the speakers. "Only one is operational." David froze. "One?" "Affirmative. Capacity. 2 passengers." A heavy silence descended upon the bridge. Saren understood instantly. "No," she said, shaking her head firmly. "We'll find another way. There has to be another way." David looked at the smoking ceiling, his exhale slow and heavy. There's no time. The core will blow. Kael stirred, his voice a barely audible whisper. Dad. David's heart hammered in his chest. He knelt beside his son as the boy's eyes fluttered open, glowing with a faint blue light. It's okay, Kael, David soothed. You're safe now. A weak smile touched Kael's lips. I can feel the ship. It's sad. David swallowed hard. Yeah, buddy, she's tired. The deck trembled violently beneath them as another explosion ripped through the ship's lower levels. Panels fell and the smoke grew thicker, choking them. Warning, Erebus's voice crackled, weaker than ever. Core containment failure. 3 minutes. David helped Saren lift Kael. You two go, he said, his voice firm. Saren stared at him, her expression sharp. No, you're coming with us. He managed a tired, broken smile, but the stubborn spark in his eyes was unmistakable. Someone has to guide the ship clear of orbit. If the Vanguard explodes this close to the planet, it'll destroy everything below. Her eyes widened in horror. David, that's suicide. He shrugged, a gesture of grim acceptance. Been a long time coming. She grabbed his arm, her voice breaking. You can't just... He cut her off softly. You told me once the Coalition took your world, killed your people. If I don't do this, your new home dies too. Saren shook her head, tears now flowing freely. I won't let you die for us. David's voice dropped to a whisper, filled with a father's love. Then do it for him. He glanced at Kael, whose small hand was reaching for the console, glowing faintly again. The boy looked confused, barely awake. Dad, come with us. David's chest ached. He brushed his son's hair back. You've got your mom now. She needs you. Kael's voice was small, pleading. But I need you too. You already have the best parts of me, kid. David turned to Saren and pressed a small, cracked data chip into her hand. What's this? She asked. My daughter's voice logs, he said quietly. Back on Earth. Lila, if I don't make it, tell her dad kept his promise. Saren stared from the chip to his face, her heart shattering. David. He interrupted gently but firmly. Go. They hesitated at the escape pod's hatch. Saren held Kael tight, her body racked with sobs. David stood at the controls, one hand steady on the console. Core meltdown in 90 seconds, Erebus announced. Saren looked at him one last time. You'll be remembered, she whispered. A faint smirk played on his lips. That's the thing about humans, Saren. We never stay gone for long. She nodded slowly, then sealed the pod. Through the small window, she saw him standing alone on the bridge. A solitary figure surrounded by smoke and dying light. The pod launched, a silver streak against the infinite darkness. David watched it disappear. Safe travels, little man, he murmured. Then he turned back to the controls as the Vanguard groaned around him, fire consuming its every corridor. Erebus's voice returned, faint and almost human. Commander, it has been an honor. David chuckled softly. You did good, Erebus. Real good. Final command? He looked at the star-dusted void ahead. Take her into the sun. Acknowledged. The engines flared one last time, pushing the dying ship toward the nearby star. As the light grew blindingly bright, David stood tall. His voice was a soft prayer. For Earth, for Lila, for every soul we lost. The flames surrounded him, golden and silent. And then, the Vanguard was gone. Far away, Saren held Kael close. He stirred, his eyes opening. Where's Dad? She looked toward the distant flash of light. He's home now, she whispered. Kael's hand pressed against the glass, his blue glow returning, pulsing like a steady heartbeat. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The Vanguard was lost. But humanity's legend had just been reborn. 10 years later, the stars over Valara 9 burned with a new kind of light. The war was over. The Coalition's iron grip had shattered, its fleet scattered like dust in the cosmic wind. Across the newly free worlds, one name had become a legend, a bedtime story for children and a hopeful whisper in every starport. The human commander. The man who flew a dead ship into the sun to destroy a god of war. Kael stood on a hill overlooking the shimmering silver plains. At 17, he was tall and quiet, with his father's strength and his mother's gentle eyes. The wind ruffled his dark hair as he looked up at the sky. A hand rested on his shoulder. It was his mother, Saren. "You come here every year," she said softly. Kael nodded, his gaze fixed on one particular star, glowing a little brighter than the rest. "He saved us here." Saren's smile was tinged with sorrow. "He saved everyone." The locals called it the Guardian Star. Kael just called it Dad. In the decade since the Vanguard sacrifice, the galaxy had been reborn. Worlds once crushed under the Coalition's heel rose up. Old enemies united, not under a banner of fear but of respect. A new symbol appeared on ships and stations everywhere, a silver circle with a burning blue core, the mark of the lost Terran ship. The Galactic Union was born from its ashes, with a single solemn motto: never forget the humans. One evening, Kael returned late from the old observatory he'd claimed as his own. Saren was waiting for him, bathed in the warm glow of the porch lights. "Another long night watching the stars?" she teased. He offered a faint smile. "Not just watching, listening." She looked puzzled. "Listening?" Kael hesitated for a moment. "Sometimes, when it's really quiet, I hear something. Whispers in the static. A voice I almost remember." Saren's expression softened. "Kael, your father is gone." "I know," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "But what if he's not?" Later, alone in the observatory, surrounded by the silent dance of 1,000 distant suns, Kael powered up the old communication array, a relic salvaged from the Vanguard's wreckage. Static hissed from the speakers. And then, for a heart-stopping second, a signal cut through the noise. "Kael." He froze, his breath caught in his chest. The voice was faint, broken, but undeniably real. Deep, calm, familiar. "Dad?" he whispered. The signal crackled to life one last time. "Find the light." Then, only silence. The next morning, he played the recording for Saren. She listened, a frown creasing her brow. "It could be a data echo, Kael. Old memory fragments from the ship's systems." He shook his head, resolute. It wasn't the ship. It was him. If Erebus could survive, maybe Dad did too. Saren sighed, her voice gentle. "You're chasing ghosts." Kael looked out at the sky. So did he. He buried himself in old Terran star charts, maps from an era before humanity vanished. He found a route marked in red, a dead zone at the edge of known space, the Epsilon Rift, the last known coordinates of the Vanguard. His decision was made. That night, under the twin moons of Valara 9, he stood before a small ship patched together from scrap and dreams. Painted in white across its hull was its name, Vanguard's Echo. Saren found him there. "You're really going, aren't you?" He nodded. "If there's even a chance he's out there, I have to know." She took his hand, her grip firm. "Your father would tell you to stay safe." Kael smiled, a true bright smile that mirrored his father's. "He'd also tell me to never stop trying." Saren laughed softly, wiping a tear from her eye. "You sound just like him." He stepped into the cockpit, the engines humming to life with a familiar blue glow. "Goodbye, Mom," he said, his voice full of love. "Goodbye, my son," she whispered back. "Find your father, or at least his peace." The Vanguard's Echo climbed through the clouds, a streak of blue against the darkness. Kael looked at the endless starfield ahead. "Destination, Epsilon Rift," the ship's computer announced. He smiled. "Let's bring the light back." With a flash, the ship jumped into hyperspace, vanishing into the void. Far away, in the deep dark between galaxies, a forgotten satellite stirred. A signal, silent for a century, flickered to life, carrying a simple message. Vanguard to anyone still out there. Humanity endures. The message echoed through the emptiness, until at last, another signal answered. Copy that, Vanguard. This is Earth Command. The story wasn't over. The galaxy thought the humans were a memory. But now, they were coming home. Thank you so much for following this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this series, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Your support means the world. See you in the stars.